Into the Red Hawks Coaches Show. We are at Wings Etc. in Cape Girardeau. Fun show today. We'll be talking about the NCAA tournament. The entire Red Hawk basketball team is here. So we'll get a chance maybe to catch up with a player or two. Obviously, we'll be talking with head coach Brad Korn, recapping what has to be one of the most epic SEMO men's basketball games of all time. It's the greatest game I've ever seen in a SEMO basketball contest, and the emotional roller coaster. Wow, what a game, what a win. 4 wins in 4 days. Hey, we want to remind you that in addition to their award-winning jumbo wings here at Wings Etc., they have over 70 items on their menu that are not their award-winning wings, and that includes their full burger lineup. They have tremendous burgers here at Wings Etc. They have wraps, subs, quesadillas, entree salads. Their appetizer lineup includes their massive ultimate nachos and their spicy deep fried pickle chips. And if you're coming for lunch, their lunch specials start at just $9.49. Good food, great times. It is Wings Etc. Let's welcome in the Red Hawks head coach. Coach, how are things? You got anything going on?
Just a couple interviews here and there. Trying to wipe a smile off your face, but you can't, and that's what it's all about. Just an unbelievable weekend for our guys and the program, the region, the area, the university. Just again, everybody deserves to feel good about the program and what those guys did in the back, what the champs did in the back, to give people that moment, that feeling. It's something that we're all going to remember for the rest of our lives, and that's what it's all about. That's what you put all the hard work in for, the ups and the downs. You find a way to clear your mind, and you just go to work. And our guys, they just had a presence and a way about them the whole weekend. And it just was very even keeled. They knew exactly what they were there to do, and they did it.
You know, I heard some Red Hawk fans after the you didn't play well against Edwardsville, and I heard some fans kind of saying, "Man, I wonder how tough this team really is." I expected more in that Edwardsville game. I didn't say that. But I heard some fans just kind of saying, man, oh man, there is no questioning the toughness and the heart of this team. 4 games in 4 days, and you had to dig deep in the 4th game and even win an extra 5 minutes. How tough is this team?
Yeah, obviously what you do shows. You know, the way you play speaks volumes of what you are and who you are. And if you walked away from that tournament thinking anything else, I really feel sorry for you, or you just flat out didn't watch. But now on the flip side of that is we did not play well. But again, that's why you have a season. That's why you have a full roster. That's why you stick with it. You stay positive. You reset entering the conference tournament. And we weren't playing well. We didn't play well in those 2 games. But again, there's a lot of things that go on within a team. Highs and lows, things happen. Sometimes you forget you're dealing with 18 to 23-year-olds or 26-year-olds in Chris Harris's case. So there's a lot of things, a lot of emotions that go on outside of those guys' lives too. I think so many times, Eric, in sport we watch, and I'm not talking professional. Those guys get paid millions upon millions of dollars, so they're fair to criticism. But the Division I athlete, even in the portal era, and the NIL era, these guys are still dealing with day-to-day life things that happen, and so. From time to time, you're going to have some things that don't go your way or what you don't want or think, especially as a fan. And as a coach, you want to win every single basketball game. But it's fighting through the adversity and knowing who you are at the end of the day when things don't go your way, continuing to trust and believe in what you've done and the guys that you're with, that you can see it through on the other side. And now all of those things sound great because we did do that. But again, that's been our way about us the whole season. Again, 7 to 8 game winning streaks to 7 game losing streaks throughout the season that we had this year. Ups and downs. You don't give in. You don't quit. And obviously that showed in the way that we played 4 games in 4 days against tough. Lindenwood was playing the best that they the last 2 weeks. They were 2 buzzer beaters. They're hot. And then you get TSU, who had been they were one of the hottest teams heading into the last game of the season.
And they smoked you in Nashville.
Yeah, and Moorhead obviously had won the league. So there wasn't a game where you just we just won 1 or we won 2 games and got in and no problem. It was a battle all the way through. And none of those games were easy.
You have been to so many NCAA tournaments. When you're a player at SIU, when you're an assistant at SIU, assistant at Kansas State. You've been to how many tournaments have you been to?
I think
Player
this
and
would
coach.
be 10, 8, 9. 10,
Okay, all
like
right.
that.
So almost double digits.
Yeah.
How different is this because you're the head coach of a team? I mean, it's one thing to be a player, it's another to be an assistant coach, but you're a head coach. How different does this feel, or does it feel different?
It only really feels different because you're the one having to do all the interviews and everything like that. But this one is a lot different, Eric, just from the standpoint of where it was when it's all on you, or when you say a bunch of things 3 years ago, or what you're trying to do and build, and then it comes to fruition probably faster than I thought. And then you're just in charge of so many people, and so it all falls on you, good or bad. And so I even sent a text out to Dustin Yoder and Sam McMahon, Nana Uckerton, Nigel Russell have texted. So it's like all the people that were here in those years before you got to this point have something to do with that too. And you're responsible for that.
Sure.
And so you take a great sense of pride. I told Sam and Dustin, our assistants, like, man, the only regret I really have is I wasn't able to hug those guys after the game on Saturday, because they deserve some of that too. And so again, that's what's different about it, is you're in charge of that. You're responsible for that. The hugs with the players after the game, and just Dylan Branson embracing you and telling you things that him and I have that moment. And then Nate Johnson giving you a hug and telling you things you're in that moment, and Josh Early, Chris Harris, and Phil Russell's the last player I saw after he had cut down a piece of the net, and we have a hug at half court. And, to embrace with your wife, and the kids are on the court. And it's just seeing all those things and realizing that you had a part in that. You feel a part of it, obviously, as a player and as an assistant. But when you get to sit back as a head coach and kind of see it full circle, that's why I know our interview probably wasn't the greatest after the game, because I'm just watching everything that's going on, trying to take it all in. I don't even know if I was looking at you when we were talking, but just those moments, it's like, man, that actually happened. And then realizing how small you are still in that moment, because it's not one guy or one thing that made that happen. It's a bunch of things behind the scenes that made that happen. And really be able to put that in perspective and have that viewpoint of it was what I was trying to take in. And now, because you're working so hard to build that, and now what can we build on in the future from that point? And that's really what, because again, until you get to that point, it's just a whole lot of words, it's a lot of action, but now there's going to be a fresh new banner up in the Showman Center that we can always point to new recruits, to our team next year, to everything. It's like, hey, remember that this is why we do what we do, because of this, and it happened. And in the way that it happened, if you can't be proud and understand what happened in those 4 days, I've only been a part of. Talked about the championships and the NCAA tournaments, Eric. I've only been a part of 2 conference championships. We won one at SIU. We never won any of them at K-State, so they've all been at-larges. And I was talking with Coach Patterson about it this morning in the office. That's a different kind of feeling when you get to cut down the net. And, that's just something, too, just to be able to do that again. I didn't understand it probably at the moment in 2006 when we did it at SIU. Because, again, it just was what we were doing. It just seemed like that's what we were just supposed to do. So to be able to build it to this point, to be able to do that and have those experiences with the staff, that's just what I was going to say.
All right, after the trophy ceremony and after all of the celebrating on the floor, when you finally got back to your cell phone, how many text messages?
Between that night and the next 2 days, even this morning, I'm still getting some, well over 300. Well over 300. And I've responded to every single one. If there's somebody I didn't, I apologize, but I think I've responded to every single one. So I keep the battery, the portable charger around. The phone's dying pretty quick. But again, if people are going to take the time out to understand and watch and appreciate what we've done and send a text, I'd respond to everybody.
What a fantastic basketball game. I've got to ask you, on Deontay Wood's buzzer beater, did you think you had lost?
No. The way he caught the ball, I knew it was well inside the arc. So when it went in, I thought they were just going to the monitor to check, because they have to verify that it was before the buzzer. And I was like, come on, guys. He got it off. It is what it is. He made it. Let's go. It's overtime now. And then I walked over to the monitor, even though they tell you not to. It's like, well, what are you guys looking at? And then I saw when he pivoted how close it actually was. And I was like, uh-oh. Because anytime they go to the monitor, whether it's something like that or if they see a foul, like they call an offensive foul flagrant one on Dylan when he's shooting a layup, anytime they go to that monitor, anything can happen.
Absolutely.
So I'm like, now at that point, I was like, oh boy, there's no way. There's no way we just lost this game.
Because I saw you grab your whiteboard and call your team in huddle the whole time that they were looking at the monitor.
Yeah, I was like, come on, guys, let's go. We got to get going because we can't be sitting here stuck in this moment. We got 5 more minutes to go. But then when I saw the replay, I was like, uh-oh, his foot is really close. But that was the only time. Before that, though, I was like, he caught it. He made a March shot, I'll call it. He had a career night at that point. So I was like, let's go. Let's get ready for the next 5 minutes of basketball. But until I saw the monitor, I didn't realize how close it was.
I called it as the game was over because I had to watch the flight of the ball. I couldn't watch his feet. I knew he was close from where he caught it. But then, as they go to the monitor, I'm saying, well, they're going to see if he got the shot off in time. I know he got the shot off in time. And the longer they were looking at the monitor, then I started thinking, hey, maybe they're checking his feet. Maybe he was not behind the arc, and that was the case. And then all of the SEMO fans, and what a great turnout it was, the SEMO fans started cheering as they're looking at the monitor because they had their phones. They were pulling up the replay. They knew it was a 2, and wow.
Yeah, it was, again, like I went over to the monitor, I was like, man, it's pretty close. But then to me, it looked like his foot was on the line. But again, you never know if they're going to triple, quadruple zoom and see maybe a shoelace and then they call it a 3. So you never quite know, but I was pretty confident that it was a 2. So we go back to the huddle, and you got like Nate Johnson and Josh Early got tears in their eyes. They're thinking their dreams are over with. Guys obviously, and rightfully so, have their heads down. And, you give Dylan Branson, Chris Harris, and Phil, you give those guys credit. Dylan stood up and said, hey, man, the way we feel right now, we got 5 more minutes to never have to feel like this. And then Chris piggybacked on that, and Phil and all the other guys were like, yeah, that's it, let's go. That's a big moment, because as a coach, you're sitting there like, man, how am I going to get these guys back mentally? They literally just think that we just gave a game away, an opportunity of a lifetime. As a coach, I didn't tell Chris to miss the free throw. Could have called a timeout, but I didn't want to put the clipboard in Pelfrey's hands. He's a great X's and O guy. Another little nugget to that is it looked like a Christian Leitner play. He was on the court when that play happened as a player. So you got all these things going on in your mind. Like, what in the world is and then again, we've been driving and trying to get some peer leadership from the guys. And when your players do it like that, you're good. Then as the coach, you can step to the side, and now you're just guiding the ship. You don't have to drive it. And that was just a huge, huge moment, not only for that game, but I think for the future of our program. Now you got some player ownership and some 19 wins and a championship, and now you've got some things established. So, again, give those guys in the back all the credit in the world. I mean, you think about that swing, Eric. I mean, that's a tough thing to come back from. And then to go down 4 in overtime and still find a way. I mean, Israel Barnes with an and 1 and a 3, and his defense was huge. Phil hit a shot against Moorhead before that, made a layup actually in overtime. It was a big basket for us. I mean, you just go down the line of all the guys. Obviously, Chris was MVP and played phenomenal.
Adam Larson had a big block.
Big block, 2 free throws, after not playing particularly well. He played with a different edge. Josh Early had a double-double, huge game. So, again, and Nate Johnson's just been Mr. Consistent for us all season long. So it's like you can just sit there and go down. Evan Ursher with a huge game against State. So it's like you just go through down the line of the guys, and that's what you have to have if you're going to win. It's never going to be pretty. You look at Tech and Wood, we were talking about it before coming on air. He had a career night, and that's March basketball. I mean, it's just a certain guy is going to jump up and make huge plays. And for the 4 games in 4 days, our team played well. Like another guy stepped up and made huge plays.
And who would have thought your season would come down to Chris Harris's uncanny ability to get fouled shooting threes? It happened twice in the game, and it was the key to put you on top and to make it so that shot, even if it was a 2, would have beat you.
Yeah, it was down 1. 2 seconds left, championship. It's just all those things that you dream about as a young kid in the driveway shooting shots. He was in that moment and he made them all. I think he said in one of the interviews he was a little bit nervous, actually, which kind of surprised me just because he's been so consistent, especially at the foul line. I think him and Phil were 21 of 25 or something.
Correct.
In that game.
21 for 25.
So, again, you're talking about closing games, and we had to close against Moorhead because our late game execution wasn't great in either one of those games, or either one of the 3. So to be able to close late at the foul line after putting ourselves in that position was huge. And for him to have that more, you think about Chris's last 2 weeks as a senior, it's 1,000-point conference tournament champion, just the MVP. Just the last week and a half, 2 weeks of his senior season is pretty storybook.
How about Chris Harris's ability to get into the lane, down in the land of the trees, and still find ways to score down there? I mean, when I'm sure a lot of people think, well, Harris is a shooter, and he is. He's a good shooter. How does he go down to the post and get those buckets?
Well, he's a big kid. I mean, big guard. Chris has got pretty big hands for a guard. And his parents are athletes. His mother played at Illinois, and his father played football at Western Illinois. So he comes from Illinois. His brother played college. So he comes from that kind of that background. And Chris has always had a knack for scoring. He's got great footwork. He can create his own. He's got good vision. He's got a beautiful shot. His form and his technique on his shot is about as picture perfect as it gets. And he found something. We unlocked something there that was working for him, working for us, kind of in that middle third of the floor. And he was able to, again, he was either getting a basket or a foul. And when he didn't score, it felt like he was getting fouled. But again, he knew it was at stake. He just he had a good. Again, he had a way about him. Our whole team had a way about him of understanding and taking what was at stake, and just like no moment was too big. Our guys were just kind of, I don't want to say casual, but they just had a very good presence and an aura about them that was able to allow them to perform and not feel that the moment was too big.
What was being said in the huddle in overtime? Because you had to huddle up a couple of times.
Just stay with it.
Is it just you talking? Do the players talk in a situation like that?
At that point, and again, I was trying to say some stuff. Coach Reynolds came with some good energy at halftime of one of those games. I can't remember which one it was at the time. And then even then, it was just like, hey, get the. Again, you think about it as a young person, like you just literally went in about a 30-second span or a minute span of real time. It felt like eternity, but it's really about a minute span. You went from thinking that you just lost to now you're going to overtime to now we got to go out there and not feel that way again. So just all the emotions of the guys, and just some of them had their heads down, and Coach Reynolds was like, come on, let's go. Coach Pickens, Coach Wheeler, Coach Brown, they were all, let's go, guys. What else would you want? Here we are. You got 5 minutes to go to the NCAA tournament. Forget about everything that just happened. It's over with now. We got to go forward. And but again, like I talked about before, just that scenario of Dylan stepping up and saying something, true leadership. Because again, anybody can lead when it's going easy. You're up 20. Yeah, everything's great. But now, who's going to step up in that moment? Because it can't just always be the coach. It really can't. So that was huge. And then everybody else piggybacks off of that. The guys really, all of them at that point too. I mean, even guys like Mason and Evan Ursher just bring a ton of energy. Even in the back clapping, everything. It all matters. It all matters when all the chips are down. So really, at that point, everybody just kind of steps up and helps out as much as they can.
Have you ever seen it? You've seen a lot of basketball. Have you ever seen a game where a team dogpiles and doesn't win?
I don't know.
I don't think I've ever seen it. I mean, they dogpiled. They thought it was over.
Yeah, and again, in that moment, I didn't even think it was close to a three. So I was actually kind of like, oh, well, that's dumb because we're going to overtime. So until I saw the replay, I was like, oh. So again, at that time, I was just like. I mean, I know it was a great shot, but it's like we still got overtime. So that's why I was like telling my guys, like, come on, let's go. Like, we got to go to overtime now. There's no time to sit around and wait. But again, now looking back, I didn't realize at that time, I didn't realize how close he actually was.
How evenly matched are you with Tennessee Tech? The first game, double overtime. The second game, tied, and they hit a buzzer beater. And then this one, another buzzer beater, and you go overtime.
Well, not only that, Eric, you can go back and ever since we've been here, it's been that way. We beat them at home by 3 in the COVID year. We came back and made it a tight game at their place. It was like 94, 92, something like that the year before that. So we've had I think the margin of victory in all of our games in the 3 years that I've been here, every game has been under double figures and 2 overtimes and a buzzer beater. So every game has been tight. I think they are I told Coach Pelfrey after the game, he's been coaching probably longer than I've been alive. And I just have a ton of respect the way he goes about it. And we're going through handshake lines, and he stops and asks for Quan, what happened to your foot? Are you okay? And this isn't a big, they just have their heart ripped out. So he's that kind of guy. And just the way that they play, they put you in a tough spot defensively. They do a great job of spacing. They actually kind of play very similar to us offensively. And then they had the big guy stepped up. He played, he's not a big guy, 6'4" or whatever he is, but he just played so strong around the rim. But they make it very, very difficult on you, and they put you in a lot of compromising situations defensively, and they can shoot the ball really well. And so what a game, though. I mean, what a game. And all that said, we take care of the basketball a little bit better late. It doesn't even come.
You're the one in regulation.
We can celebrate with 39 minutes instead of needing 45.
So, how long until you got back to your hotel that you flipped SportsCenter on because you knew there were going to be Red Hawk highlights?
I didn't even turn it on.
Okay.
Actually, Joe had texted me that next Sunday and said, "Hey, have you seen ESPN?" and whatever. And I was like, "No, I haven't." Like I said earlier, 300 something text message. I didn't get to that point. I haven't even seen it. I haven't watched the game yet either, and I'm looking forward to watching that kind of as a fan, just because, again, just what an unbelievable game. I mean, unbelievable game from both sides.
Right. My wife and I are driving from the Ford Center back to our hotel. We stayed at a Drury in Evansville, and I was telling her, hey, what's going to happen is we're going to be watching SportsCenter here, and before they go to their first commercial break, they will have highlights of this game. It was the first conference to punch their ticket, plus the way that it ended. They're going to have extensive highlights on this game, and that was exactly the case, man.
Yeah,
That's nice national exposure.
Yeah, absolutely. And then, obviously the game's on ESPN too, 7 o'clock. I've done some interviews, people talking about how they had it on the bar in Louisville, and there's a couple of SEMO fans that got the game on. And, I mean, you were in prime time. I mean, it's Saturday night, college basketball, March, first ticket punch. I mean, all eyes are on this. And we'll see it now this whole week. There's going to be buzzer beaters. There's going to be a whole bunch of things that happen. And so for us to be a part of that and the way that we did it, 4 games in 4 days, I think that's the other thing that you take a lot of pride in is, you didn't maybe just 1 or 2 seed in 1-2 games, and yeah, you're going to the NCAA tournament's great. It's just it's kind of the way you did it too, in the process of getting that, and then you put that type of a game, that shot, overtime, coming back, all the things that happened leading up to that. I mean, it's just the epitome of March Madness.
What's interesting is the only team that ever did what you did, 4 games in 4 days, was Austin Peay in 2016. That was the year before Dave Luce retired. Luce is the all-time winningest coach in OVC history. They won 4 games in 4 days. Until you came along this year, no team had even ever played 4 games in 4 days, let alone won 4 in 4. So you're just the second team to have even played 4 games in 4 days. How tired do you think they were at the end of that game? We'll have to. I want to talk to Chris Harris a little later. I want to ask him how heavy were those legs late, overtime, 4th game in 4 days.
Well, I made a little joke after the game. We didn't tell him to miss the free throw. Maybe shouldn't have. Who knows? It's obviously all driven.
I thought he was going to miss it.
Yeah. Well, we didn't tell him. I wasn't even thinking that, to be quite honest with you. Again, take as many points as you can get. I knew I didn't want to call a timeout because they didn't have it. So we had the 1 timeout left. It's 2.2. I'm not a guy on the ball kind of guy. I'm just not. To me, I've never seen a game end with a guy deflecting the pass. The teams always seem to get the pass off. And so why make the floor even bigger and make it 4-on-4 in a full-court situation like that? I'd rather have what we call a little safety or a spy in football back there to maybe help direct traffic or keep everything in front of you. And so we had the people in place. Nate was back there. Chris was back there. And to your question, Chris jumped to try to knock it down. But he can only get 2 inches off the ground anyway. But after 4 games in 4 days, he only got about a ½ inch off the ground, and the ball goes right over his head. It felt like the ball was in the air for an hour.
It did.
So again, I think if it was the first game of the tournament, Chris probably knocks it down. But again, as the games go on, we were in the right spot. I mean, the kid obviously made a heck of a play. But again, I know that we were exhausted. But they left it all out there. And that's how winning is supposed to feel. You're not supposed to have anything left in the tank. And there isn't anything left in the tank. If you don't win, we're not doing the show. And that's the thing for the guys too, is understanding that it doesn't matter how you're going to feel after. And we tell Adam Larson, I tell Adam Larson all the time, like winning hurts. Like, it hurts. You're going to be hurt. And I think those guys were hurting, but obviously it was definitely worth it.
So Chris Harris deserved the MVP. There's no question about that. So he getting a lot of attention, and it's certainly well-deserved. Philip Russell always gets a lot of attention, but the guy who was just so key for you was Israel Barnes. Jess Bolin and I were talking about this morning on our Sports Talk show. You fall down 4 in overtime. He hits that leaner, hits the 3 from the corner. Have you ever seen anybody who is so good at those leaners like him, man? It seems like whenever he shoots that shot, it goes in.
Yeah, he's dominated twos this whole season. He's a hard guy to keep out of the paint. We've got a couple of plays for him where it's just his play to get to the rim. He's got a really good knack of being able to get his strong kid. He's athletic around the rim. Talk about that 3 that he hit that rattled in from the corner right in front of our bench. The and one was huge. To me, the thing that stood out, 2 things that stood out more so than just those offensive plays, was his defense all tournament long. I mean, he guarded Freeman about as well as anybody. Made it very, very hard for him. He was frustrated. He's a physical. Israel's he's gangly. He's lanky. He's got some good attributes that way. And he just laid on people defensively. I thought he was the best 4-game defensive stretch he's had all season. But then again, for him to show some emotion, it's probably the most emotion I've seen out of his all season long. Getting shots, flexing, knocking 3s down, talking to the crowd. I mean, when the officials have to go over to Israel to tell them to calm down a little bit, say, all right, we're all right, we're going to be okay. But again, so it was nice to see him have some emotion behind what he was doing. I mean, he played fantastic, both sides of the ball. I thought his defense really stood out to me.
He was going to play heavy minutes no matter what. But the only reason he started in that game, Israel Barnes, is because Aquan Smart got hurt. And Aquan's in a boot over there. And so you never know how's a guy going to respond in a big spot. Man, if there's any question, Israel Barnes responded in a big way, because that's a big piece that you did not have in that game, Aquan Smart. He's playing his best basketball of his SEMO career right now.
Yeah, we had talked about how he really had the most consistent month that he's had since he's been here. He's on the show a week or 2 ago. So,
I mean, you picked him to shoot technical free throws over Harris, over Russell. You picked Aquan Smart, and he nailed him.
Yeah, and again, I think that's just a moment, between, again, you go through a lot of certain things throughout the season. We had Dylan Branson shoot a technical this year. Just again, because at the time he was 6 of 6, or it was that moment that was his game, and so
that's a gut call for a coach.
Yeah, typically, you're always going to go with a guy that's, your best free throw shooter. Phil had been shooting 80%. He's standing over here right now, wondering why he didn't get to shoot him. But obviously, he's shot a lot of the free throws just because he's shooting 80%. So you're always going to put your most percentage guy there. But in that moment, with Aquan for those technicals, I think he was 7 for 7 or 6 for 6 at the time. Phil had missed a couple. Chris had missed a couple that game. And so he was like, Coach, let me shoot. And I was like, you know what? This is an opportunity. Again, to your point earlier, Chris gets a lot of attention in plays. Phil obviously gets a lot of attention in plays. And Aquan is an opportunity. He's like, this is an area where you throw Aquan a bone. He says he was vocal and says, I can make these, just like he was at Tennessee Tech at home when he said, hey, if you guys, he had a bad shooting night, he said, hey, if you guys throw this to me in the corner, I'm going to make this 3. And he made a huge 3 in double overtime at home against Tennessee Tech. So it's given those guys confidence as well. Like, hey, I believe in you, Aquan. I know you can make these free throws. Yes, sir. Go up and knock them down. And he did. And I called him, after he made the second one, I yelled at him and got his attention. And I hit my chest like, hey, man, I believe in you. You told me you believed in yourself, and I followed it back with I believe in you. And so I think that's a way that you can build some trust and a deeper connection without having to just do live in-moment things. You can build it that way, too. And I thought that was one of those moments where we could have done that.
I looked at all 4 boxes. Obviously, he didn't play in the Tennessee Tech game. Aquan Smart in the tournament, 10 for 10 from the free throw.
Yeah, I mean, it's it's that old saying, free throws don't win you all the games, but they win you the close ones. And we talked about Chris and Phil in the championship game, 21 of 25 between them two. And I don't know exactly what we were as a team in that championship.
As a team, you were 27 of 33.
I mean, that's huge. I can't remember exactly what game it was, but there was a game when we missed 12, 15 free throws and we lost.
Missed 14 against Lindenwood.
There you go. And so it's just, and so when you got guys stepping up and making free throws again, and 4 games in 4 days, everything matters. Every free throw matters. Every game matters because there is no other game if you don't win the one that you're in. So all those little plays make a huge, huge difference. I think that's, again, you look at the Moorhead game in the first half, we're only down 2 possessions, but we're down because we had 9 turnovers in the first half, and that's not our brand of basketball. And then we only had 2 in the second half, and we win the basketball game. So all those little things, especially in March basketball, make a huge difference.
And in the Moorhead State game, 21, you go 14 out of 21 from the, 14 of 21 from the free throw line. What's interesting, when you beat Moorhead State, you did not have a single free throw in the first half of the game.
Yeah, that was the game was moving. I don't remember anything where it was. There's always plays where you think maybe you should have got a couple calls here or there, but I knew we couldn't win the game if we didn't get to the foul line. You know, you can't go a whole game without shooting free throws.
It was a Tennessee State game. I'm sorry, I had the wrong game. So in the Tennessee State game, I don't think you shot 1 free throw in the first half, and unbelievably, you shot 42 free throws in the second half of the basketball.
Yeah, I haven't really seen a game like that either,
No.
at least in recent memory, to where it's that lopsided. But again, I thought it had good flow to it, and it just was one of those situations, one of those halves. But again, you knew that wasn't probably going to stay that way, and you couldn't win the game if you don't get to the foul line. And that's something that we've done in the last 3 years, is get to the foul line.
You've shot more free throws in conference games than any other team in the league.
Yeah. And so that's part of what we do, and that's part of that dynamic guard play, is the floor of space and getting to the foul line. So I knew that wasn't probably going to continue. And if we were going to win it couldn't continue. We were going to have to get to the foul line. Thankfully, we did.
Just a fabulous opportunity now for the NCAA tournament. We could talk more about it. I want to see if we can get Chris Harris up here, the MVP of the tournament. But there's a good chance, because of where the conference is ranked in terms of RPI, Coach, that you get a 16 seed and play in the play-in in Dayton against another 16 seed. A great if that's the case, a great opportunity to win an NCAA tournament game.
Yeah, and you know, who knows? That's the cool thing about Selection Show Sunday, is that everybody finds out at the same time. So there's no inside. We won't know anything before anybody else. And I think we've got a group of guys, obviously, that no matter what they say or where we go, we're going and we're playing. And I've been part of the first 4 in Dayton when I was at K-State. They treat you like royalty. I mean, it's the NCAA tournament, obviously, and some people may think, oh, well, it's a different type of. It's not. It's full blown. It is the real deal. So if that ends up being the case, you leave that next morning bright and early, and you'll be going to wherever the next game is if you're fortunate enough to win. But yeah, you're right. That would be a great opportunity to have get a game under your belt, win a game. Say you won a game in the NCAA tournament, and keep on playing. So many teams. I don't know exactly what the numbers are, but once they started the first 4, I know there for a long stretch, there's always been a team that had gone to the Sweet 16 from the first 4. And so again, you just start getting that momentum, and like we just did, we played. At that point, it literally just covering some video, you're covering some plays, and you're playing. And so if that situation comes up, momentum is a scary, scary thing when you get into March. And that's why you see some of these teams, the Cinderella stories, because everything is equal. You know, everybody's staying in the same spots, everybody's eating the same foods. We have to, in order to have certain calls, the officials have to call it the way it's supposed to be called to move so they can advance in the NCAA tournament. And so all playing fields, all eyes are on the NCAA tournament, and that's why you see Cinderella. So, you know, again, if that's the case and we get to get a game under our belt, a chance to win a game, to keep it going and to gain some momentum, that would be huge.
And it's happened for an OVC school, 16 and winning in Dayton. When Kenneth Fareed was at Moorhead State, when Donnie Tyndall was at Moorhead State, they got a 16. They played in Dayton in a play-in game. They won that play-in game, and it goes down in the record books as an NCAA tournament victory.
Yeah, and these are like really nice conversations to have because you're in the NCAA tournament. So to talk about even winning a game or who you might play, or again, that's what it's supposed to be all about. And whatever it ends up being, we end up being the 15 seed, and we have to play a 2, then we'll do that too. But the whole point, obviously, is that we're in the NCAA tournament. When we get together, we all get together on Sunday at the Show Me Center. We need all of Cape Girardeau to come out and celebrate and have, be a part of that event and that evening. And, our kids deserve it. The program deserves it. This region deserves it. The university deserves it. And now that these players have done that, they need to reap some of that benefit and feel good about what they did, because I texted them all last night in the group. I don't think they understand what they've done and what they've just done. They probably won't understand or realize it for another 5 to 10 years. But what they did is pretty remarkable.
I remember when Gary Garner's team did go to the tournament in 2000, and we were doing a coaches show, and big crowd like we've got here, and his quote was, "Let me tell you something. We're not going out there to play. We're going out there to win." And the crowd went crazy. Right. So I know you're thinking the exact same thing. Yeah. You say a 15 and a 2. I saw Hampton beat Iowa State.
Absolutely.
I saw Norfolk State beat Missouri. 15s beat 2s, and of course we know about Maryland, Baltimore County beating the 1 seed.
And the crazy thing about that is that's who, when we were at K-State, we played UMBC the next game. So we were in that pod. And we ultimately went to the Elite 8 that year. But it's happened. I mean, it happens. It's March Madness for a reason. And I think if for teams that we would potentially play, if you start watching film, and you're going to see some teams pop up that are like those 15, 16 seeds, and some of them might even have losing records. And so it's going to pop up SEMO 19, 16, 10 and 8. And then you start watching film, and it's like, wait a minute. I'm not sure we want to play this 15, 16, 14.
They're pretty good.
Yeah, this is a dangerous team. I don't think we want to play these guys. And so those are the teams that really can cause some havoc.
Going to be absolutely fun. Tell us a little bit, before we go to commercial break, tell us a little bit about what it was like yesterday when your bus pulled into Cape Girardeau. You had a big welcoming committee. Now, before the welcoming committee, you made a stop. Usually Andy Sawyers is the most popular dude at Kappahaw Field on a day-in, day-out basis. Not yesterday. You stopped at Kappahaw with the trophy, went out onto the home run party deck, flashed the trophy to everybody, signed some autograph, kissed some babies, and tell us about that and the reception that you got when you came back, because we're at the baseball game, so we weren't able to be there. But I saw the video of it that Kobe put together. Tell us about that.
Yeah, just really cool for people to come out. And again, I don't know if our guys knew it. Jeff Hansa and other administrators, whoever put that together. It's just, again, these are memories, that you'll have forever. So to come back home and to see people support that, the band, cheerleaders out there, they were big time in the conference tournament too, Eric. To have their support all 4 games, that's pretty unique as well. Because everybody doesn't have that or that. So that's big for everybody, because everybody needs to be a part of it. And we pull up, and there's the football team, 30 guys from the football team, other student athletes out there, community members. Just, again, those are experiences.
Coach Tuke was there.
Yeah, he was at the games.
Yep.
But even at the welcome back, Gino Hess is out there. He put some little funny video together on Twitter. Again, that's what it's supposed to be about. That's what it's. That's what you want to be associated with. You want to be associated with winners. And there's been a lot of people winning. Talking with Coach Patterson this morning, picking her brain about how when they were going to go to the tournament, how she handled this long week of practice. And SEMO's had a lot of champions, a lot of winners. And you want to be that breeds success. And so you just to have as many people around and sharing in that. And again, I've talked a lot about momentum, but just to have that feel-good moment. A lot of people were out there, the community members were out there just talking about how they've just been dying and waiting for this to happen, to be able to bring some of that joy and excitement back to the region, to the area and the university, and a prideful brand of basketball, which we set out to do and try to live out for the last 3 years. And to see some of that come to fruition was very rewarding. But just really, really unique to see a lot of those people and a lot of communities step up. And again, hopefully everyone comes out Sunday and to the the
Now,
Show Me Center.
let's explain. There is a selection show Sunday. I think it's at 5 o'clock. But there's going to be a watch party at the Show Me Center.
Yeah, and again, there are more details obviously will come out about that. But I no matter what anybody says, I want everybody there. Why not? Like, this is not. It hasn't happened for 23 years. If it happens, if it's not for another 23 years, Eric, I'll have an AARP card. So we don't need that. We need everybody there. Everybody's got to be excited about this. This is a big deal. It's a big deal. Our guys deserve it. Again, the area deserves it. The region deserves it. The university deserves it. So let's celebrate it. Let's all take part in this and enjoy this, and let's just get all this. Let's continue this momentum. It took a lot of work to get to this point. Happened a lot faster than maybe we thought. Thought it could always happen, but now that it has happened, let's capitalize. Let's continue to build and be what we ultimately all think we can be.
And think about this SEMO athletics department right now. I don't know how many other Division I teams around the country can say this. They've got the reigning conference football champions, the reigning conference tournament baseball champions, and now the reigning men's basketball champions. It's a good time to be a Red Hawk.
It is, and again, like I said, you're just talking about a bunch of winners. I've gone into a lot of meetings, head coaches meetings, and kind of looking around the room like, man, there's one person there that doesn't fit. So now we walk into those meetings, it's going to be like, well, now we got to get multiple to match these other guys, because there's been multiple champions in that room too. And again, winners want to be around winners, whether that's coaches, players, life. You want to be around good people, and there's a lot of good people here. And so again, that's where a lot of the pride comes from too. Is 10 new players on the roster, or 2 new coaches. It's not like we just rolled this thing over for the past however many years, and this has kind of just been the expectation. There's been a lot of work that had to go into it, and so to see that come to fruition the way that it did, the manner in which it did, 4 games in 4 days, pretty special.
We'll see if we can get the MVP up here. Chris Harris is here. The Red Hawk team is here. We're at Wings, etc. We'll take our first time out. Glad you joined us. Red Hawks Coaches Show from Wings on SEMO ESPN. Etc. The championship trophy is here. In fact, it's sitting right in front of the MVP, Chris Harris, joining us. This is getting to be a regular thing. You joining us on the Coaches Show. How fun was it to play in that basketball game Saturday night?
It was a lot of fun. Great group of guys, great group of coaches. We knew we had a goal to win 4 games in 4 days, and we knew every step was going to be harder, but everybody stayed consistent, everybody stayed persistent, and we ended up coming out victorious.
How heavy were your legs at the end of that game? How tired were you at the end of that basketball game?
I was pretty tired. My legs were definitely heavy, but it was win or go home, and I know these guys, we love each other very much. You know, we spend a lot of time together. We spend a lot of time in the gym. So understanding that this could be the last time that this team is together like this, I don't think we were ready to go home.
So when Deontay Wood hits the shot and you appeared with a dog pile, did you think the game was over at that point? Coach Korn said he did not. I know some of your teammates did because there were tears in guys' eyes. Did you think the game was over when he hit that shot?
At first, when he hit the shot, I definitely thought the game was over. But the first person I looked at was Coach Korn, and he was like, no, I saw his foot on the line, it was a 2. So after that, I just started telling my guys, like, hey, it's a 2, it's a 2. Just, you know, kind of regroup. The game's not over. They were never even winning. So, I mean, we just had to keep our heads. And, you know, in that moment, it's a lot of disappointment that you're experiencing because you feel like you did lose. So being able to come back out and, you know, really take that pain and put it to good use and go out there and play with another level of energy that we didn't have before because, like you said, we were exhausted was just a great response by the team.
Chris Harris, our guest. The Red Hawk team is here at Wings Etc. Red Hawks Coaches Show. The last time we had you on the show, we talked about this freaking weird ability of yours to get fouled while shooting a three-pointer. It happened twice, and if it doesn't happen at the end, you're going to lose the basketball game. Unbelievable. Tell us about that play. You get fouled and go to the line and shoot 3 free throws. How do you do that?
I mean, I feel like I gave away the secrets last time, but
somebody may not have been listening last time.
No, I just, you know, I tried to make a good play, but I understood that, you know, that might be our last shot, so that if there was some contact, to just make it known that there was contact, not try to, you know, stand my ground too hard and act like I didn't get hit or something like that. So that's really all it was.
And there's a fine line you got to walk.
Yeah.
Because Brett Thompson got called for an offensive foul for kicking his leg out. Russell got called for kicking his leg out on a shot. So they had already called that twice in the game, and you still were able to get the foul.
Yeah, I just always tell Phil and anybody else who's doing it, just make sure you stay in your shot and don't kick your leg. Once you kick your leg, it's an offensive foul. So as long as you just stay straight up and down and they hit you, it's going to be a foul.
So when they announced that you were the MVP, on top of the fact that you're hoisting the championship trophy, how cool is that? MVP of the OVC tournament.
It's pretty cool. It's pretty cool. I really can't believe it happened, but, you know, I really owe my guys it all. I mean, when you look back, it's pretty easy to do what I do when I have the guys surrounding me like that. You got Nate sprinting up the ball screens and set screens. You got Phil getting us into the bonus for me to even start shooting free throws, right? So you have everybody else making their different contributions, and then at the end it adds up, and then for me to take the credit is crazy because it was definitely a team.
How big was Israel Barnes in that basketball game?
Oh my, it was huge. I mean, he was hitting good shots, but even more so, he's playing defense. You know, he was guarding the other team's best players and the other team's best scorers pretty much the whole game. So, I mean, it was a well-rounded game for him, and he went out there and played as hard as he could.
That was as I'm sure you played in some great games throughout your entire career, high school, growing up, AAU ball, summer leagues, everything. Is that the best game you've ever competed in?
Probably. The most high intense, you know, most on the line, you know, because it being my last season, I know there's no coming back. Like this is my last chance to be able to do it. And like I said, me and my brother are pretty competitive, and he's already been to March Madness once, so I told him I had to get there as well.
So you got some bragging rights now. So as far as winning the OVC tournament championship, what were the thoughts going through your mind in the game? Did you ever think this could be my last game? I do not want this to be my last game. Does that thought go into your mind, or does it not even enter your mind?
Oh, for sure. I feel like in order to have the right motivation and have the right passion behind it, you have to understand the circumstances that you're actually in. So, you know, it was a thought in my mind every game that we played, from whether it be Lindenwood or Moorhead, it doesn't matter. It could be our last game, so we have to play consistently. We have to play the way that we know we can play for all 40 minutes no matter what.
Now, for those who don't know, you've already got your undergrad degree and you are working on your master's. I want to know, has anyone in your family achieved a master's degree before you?
My mother is the only one.
So you get some more bragging rights with your brother, right?
For sure. Oh, yeah. Exactly. Now you're starting to see it like me.
How tough is it to be a Division I athlete with everything that you have to do for athletics to also be a top-notch student? That has to be a juggling act.
Yeah, it is pretty difficult, but you have great people surrounding you, like Miss Brooke. Miss Brooke has been awesome my whole career from being here from start to finish. You know, I used to have 8-hour study hall with her, and I used to be in there with her, and we built a great relationship. So she's always been one phone call away to help with anything academic, and for me to actually be on the track I need to be to achieve my academic goals as well as my athletic goals.
All right, how excited are you to see where you're going to play, and would you mind playing in Dayton? The one thing about, like, if you play in Dayton, the college basketball world is watching your game. There are no other games.
Right. Yeah.
Now, once you get into the first day of the tournament, that Thursday of the tournament, there are multiple games going on. You know, fans are flipping around to find different games. If you play in Dayton, that will not be the case. The entire college basketball world will be watching Southeast Missouri State.
Right. Yeah, it is pretty crazy. But I mean, we just have to keep the same approach that we've had and just not try to get too high or too low. Just, you know, it's exciting to see where we're going to play, but, you know, we're more interested in what we're going to do when we get there.
How tough was it to fall asleep? Now, I know you guys were tired, but could you fall asleep right away? Was the adrenaline flowing? Was it tough to get to bed?
Oh, I mean, everybody was on cloud nine. Like, everybody's yelling at each other and everybody's screaming. And, you know, once the emotions come down, you don't even realize what you've really done. And, you know, it's slowly over the next couple of days, you start to realize, like, a lot more people were watching than you thought, or a lot more people care than you thought really cared. So it's just a great feeling for the team. And like I said, the group of guys, they really deserve it. They work so hard. And for me coming in being a senior, seeing our organization being so, just work so professional and be so devoted to their craft from the top down, it's no wonder why we are where we are.
How many times did you watch highlights of the game on ESPN SportsCenter?
Oh, a bunch, and then I got a bunch of my dad sending me a bunch of highlights too, like I haven't seen them. So it was pretty funny, but you know, it's awesome, and it's awesome for everybody else to be able to experience that as well.
So Coach Korn said he got over 300 messages since the end of the game until now. When you finally got back to your phone, had it blown up? How many messages?
Oh yeah, I remember I had a ton of messages, and you know, I go to my family chat, which is just my dad and my mom, my older brother, my younger sister, and I look in the chat and it says there's 85 messages in that chat alone. So I know they were. How about that? Yeah, they were blowing up the phone, and it was pretty cool. But it was, like I said, it's awesome for everyone to experience, and it's something that everybody that you know really now has a piece of, and now everybody that you know is tied to the tournament, and it's awesome to be that link.
All right, 4 down, more to go, right?
Yes, sir. 4 down, more to go.
Congratulations on the championship and the tournament MVP. It's always great to catch up with you, Chris, and we'll see you in Dayton or wherever else they're going to send the Red Hawks.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
All right, that is Chris Harris, MVP. We'll wrap it up with Coach Korn when we come back. Final segment, Red Hawks Coaches Show, Championship Edition from Wings Etc. on SEMO ESPN. Are here. I see Nate Johnson and Josh Early. There's Dylan Branson back there. We saw Philip Russell a little bit earlier. Obviously, we heard from Chris Harris. So, Coach, you're not going to find out who you play until Sunday. What's the Red Hawks schedule this week? What are you doing? Are you giving some time off?
Yeah.
You get those legs rested. 4 games in 4 days. What's going on this week with the Red Hawks?
Yeah, we were off yesterday, just traveling back. But that's not really even an off day just because of everything going on. We didn't get back till 1 or 2. I think it's 1 o'clock, right? Yeah, we're around 1. So, and then nothing today. Off today. We'll get them moving a little bit tomorrow, and then just kind of slowly build a week, and then take a day off, either Friday, Saturday. Kind of let them have another day. The other side of it too is, we left on Tuesday, and so they missed Wednesday, Thursday, Friday of academics. So getting back into academics this week and catching up on anything, and then we have spring break the following week. And so it's like we need to have a good week academically, just making sure we're getting stuff turned in. Our academic advisor was here, Miss Brooke, does a phenomenal job with our guys. So just making sure they're on track and everything is taken care of. Because again, we get wrapped up in the whole athletics part of it, but there's also the academic piece too. And Chris Harris having a couple degrees, Nate got his degree, Dylan, Josh, those guys will get their degrees. We've graduated 9 guys in 2 years here. So there's, again, like we talked about earlier, we get wrapped up maybe sometimes in performance, based because everything is emotionally based on performance and results, but we don't understand these are 18 to 23-year-olds sometimes. And we also forget the academic piece, which is a huge piece, because that also is just like your conference championship ring is going to be with you the rest of your life. Your degree is going to be with you the rest of your life as well. And so to make sure that they're getting that part taken care of as well. So that's a big week for this as well. So we'll get back at it, probably just with some light workouts on Wednesday. Have a good practice. We need to stay sharp. Again, this is a huge moment, a huge accomplishment, but there's still a whole lot of basketball to be played. And the other thing of it is when you lose, you have to take 2 weeks off, or when your season ends, you have to take 2 weeks off per NCAA rules. So we're getting an extra week, an extra 10 days of real practice that other teams don't get. And that's the other part of it. We can continue to work on our team and continue to work on who we are as a group. So, we have to take these 10 days. There's those summer tours that people take in the off season. You get 10 days of practice before you go on that trip. So this is kind of in that. These couple weeks here, we can still continue to get better and continue to build our program, because there's obviously the NCAA tournament to play in. But our team needs to continue to get better, and so we need to take advantage of these times, because now people are going to start falling off and they can't do anything for 2 weeks and can't pick it back up for another 2 weeks. So we'll get back at it in the weight room tomorrow, and then we'll get back at it on the court on Wednesday, and a couple good days of practice, off day, a couple good days, and then we'll be on a plane ready to play in the NCAA tournament.
Quan Smart was in a walking boot. Obviously, he didn't play in the championship game. What's his status going forward? Will he be able to, do you think he'll be able to play in the tournament, or no?
Well, we don't know exactly just yet, day to day. But if you asked him, and he said, no matter what, I'm playing.
He was limping around for 2 games in that tournament.
Yeah.
I mean, that wasn't, he didn't just suffer that injury there, right? I mean, that was something that he'd been battling through, right?
Yeah, it has. And actually, I forget exactly when it happened, but I think it happened even before the conference tournament. Just kind of a little nagging thing, but obviously now you're getting into heavy minutes, game after game after game. And so by the time, again, Quan's that guy, like if he can play, he's going to play. And especially if you're going to play, if there's an NCAA chance on the line, he's going to play. So you knew he was in a lot of pain and couldn't go. So he feels much better than he did, obviously, because there's not as much wear and tear, and he's not playing the pounding of everything. So feels better today. He'll continue to feel better but we'll take it day by day and see what's happening.
Boy, you need to have him. If you could have him in that NCAA tournament, you certainly want a Quan out there.
Yeah, just, again, his length, his athleticism, his consistency, the way he's been able to shoot the basketball of late. We need everybody. Again, it's a testament to the team and to our guys. Chris, Phil get a lot of the attention, and rightfully so. But again, we've talked about Evan Ursher with a huge game, Josh Early with a double-double, Dylan Branson leadership qualities, Israel Barnes playing the way he played. Mason Hamback has had huge games against Morehead State for us. Eastern Illinois had 8 points in the first half. You just probably forgetting even a couple guys. Tevin Gowans at the beginning of the season played phenomenal at South Florida. Big reason why we won that game at South Florida. So again, you just go down the line of you need all your guys, again, because just like Tech had their guy step up and have a huge game in a March moment, someone for us is going to step up and have a huge moment. You see it all the time in the NBA, especially when the NBA reaches the playoffs. Charles Barkley, Shaquille O'Neal, those guys talk about, quote-unquote, the others have to step up if you're going to win a championship. You count on your main guys to be the main guys and carry the bulk of the load, but now, who else can step up, like Israel Barnes has stepped up and have that moment. So, again, that's what this whole week of practice is for, too. Stay sharp, so when that moment comes, you're ready, and you give a guy like Evan Ursher a ton of credit for being ready. He stays after every practice. He works extra in the weight room. It's not an easy thing to do. We need all of our guys ready to be able to do that because a moment is coming, and so now are you going to be ready for that moment when it comes?
Did you hear from Bruce Weber right away?
Yeah. I hear from Coach quite a bit. So again, it's got to be cool for him, to see one of his guys be able to coach in the NCAA tournament. Obviously, you can sit there and watch Matt Painter. He's kind of Coach Painter has been rinse repeat at Purdue. We take it for granted what they've been able to do over there. But he sent me a long text. We've had a bunch of conversations. He was able to call our Iowa game. So again, I've always been so appreciative of Coach. And again, I've talked about it at length there. I'm never going to take any personal credit for anything. I've just been around amazing people and just try to do right by people. And Coach is one of those people. He hired me twice. Once when I didn't have a job, once when I had one, but gave me an opportunity to be a Big 12 assistant. I've told you before, when I left, I couldn't even look him in the face. I had to write him a note and slide it under his door just because I felt I hadn't done enough for him because of the opportunities he gave me. And so I see a lot of him in our program. He's an extension of my parents. And, just to have this moment, to be able to celebrate some people that have helped you get to where you're at. There's been nothing I've done other than just not give away and not screw it up. So again, he's a big part of that as well.
How tough was it to get to sleep Saturday night?
I closed my eyes probably about 3:30. I woke up at about 5:30 to tell the guys to get out of the hallway and go to bed. And then I was up at 7:30. Took a nap yesterday afternoon for the first time. I don't know if I took a nap or just fell out. But I got some great sleep last night. I'm gonna get some great sleep tonight. But yeah, you just don't want to take any of these moments for granted. You get to call an NCAA tournament basketball game. That's a life experience you're going to have with you forever. So again, everyone gets to have those experiences. I've had them. It doesn't make it okay or I'm content or satisfied that I've had them before. But when you work hard and allow other people to have the experiences you have, to me, that's what it's all about. And so we're never going to be satisfied. Yeah, we've won a championship, but now we got to win 2, 3, 10, 20, 50. You know what I mean? That's the mindset that you have. And that never goes away. Even if you have a bad year, you're going to still have that mindset because nobody works harder than the coaches and the players. But there's also a lot of sacrifices and a lot of people that make a lot of sacrifices behind the scenes, families, administrators, yourself. And so now everybody gets to take part of it and have a piece of that. And that's really what it's supposed to be about because those experiences stay with people forever.
Going to be fun Sunday at the Show Me Center. The public is invited for the watch party, and more details will come out about that. We'll get more specifics when they come out. But can't wait for that. That'll be on Sunday. We'll talk to you then, Coach. Thanks so much for your time.
All right, sounds good, Eric. Thank you.
That is the Red Hawks championship coach, Brad Korn. Red Hawks are here. Thanks to Chris Harris. Thanks to Rachel Cook, Kirby Ray on the scene as well. We appreciate their help. And that's going to do it. We'll get you back into regular programming on ESPN. Enjoy your Monday, everybody. So long from the Coaches Show at Wings.